Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? It's time for coffee. High energy. Good morning. Did I skip yesterday? Yeah, I don't think I did a Periscope yesterday. My brother and sister are in town today. How do you sleep so little? I don't know. It's a good question. I wonder about that. Well, a lot of it is genetic. Gmail missed your thoughts? Will Trump win? Yes, I think he'll win in a landslide. Oh, thank you. I went to a number one. Coffee's almost ready. I did not see much of the convention at all. I didn't watch Hillary's speech with the sound on. I watched it with the sound off, which is a frightening thing. Everybody got their coffee? Get your coffee, mine's almost ready. It is a fresh cut. Almost there. So is anybody reading my blog today? I just posted a new blog post. Yes, crazy eyes. Thank you. That's what I was going to talk about. So I watched Hillary Clinton's speech with the volume turned off. And I did that for a couple reasons. One of the reasons is that I really, really can't stand listening to her voice. And I don't mean that as a sexist comment. There's just something about her in particular that I find her voice insanely annoying. So I wanted to watch Hillary Clinton's speech with the sound off, in part because I just wanted to see what sort of vibe she put across, just her physicality, because people are visual animals, and to a large extent they're ignoring what people say, and they're just looking at who's saying it. So if you understand the messenger, you can ignore the message half the time. So try this. I tried watching, not the whole speech, but a big part of it with the sound off. And I noticed something interesting. One of the tells for deceit is when somebody's smile doesn't match their eyes. All right? So a genuine, and this is not something I made up, this is sort of well understood in the persuasion world, that if somebody's eyes look one way and their mouth looks another way, they look demonic. So if you watched parts of Hillary Clinton's speech with the sound off, you would see that in parts of her eyes were sort of like this. Like try to do it. But her mouth was like this. Angry eyes and a smile. Hey, I got angry eyes, but I'm smiling. That's what you get when, let's say somebody's really mad at you, a spouse or something, and you say, is there anything wrong? And your spouse says, no, there's nothing wrong. See, the smile and the eyes are out of alignment. Now, it could be that she's got some Botox going on. It's not what I think. But it was actually frightening to watch her speak with the sound off, because she had sort of a demonic look that didn't, the top half of the face and the bottom half weren't on the same page. Wow, 550 users. Will she get a bump after the speech? Well, since I didn't listen to the content of the speech, that would be hard to say. The folks who did listen to it, the pundits, say it was a good speech, solid, and I think generally people don't help themselves with these conventions. They just try not to hurt themselves, say the experts, and I would agree. But I'm still looking for a negative bump from Clinton's affair, and that's primarily based on the fact that I thought the the pro-woman approach went a little over the top, and that I think men and some women are going to just find it too ugly. There's a sort of an anti-male cloud over the whole convention. And I wrote about this, that I'm pretty sure that if you take, science knows that if you take a typical male and put him in a situation of victory, he wins something, contest, sporting contest, gets a raise, gets a promotion, something like that, a man's testosterone levels will rise, and fairly immediately too. And if you put the man in a situation where he's losing and things are going wrong and he has no control over his life, his testosterone levels will get lower. In fact, if you introduce children to a situation, a man's testosterone lowers immediately as well. So we have a pretty good idea what raises testosterone and what lowers it, and it happens pretty quickly. And my guess is that watching the Democratic convention, a lot of men probably felt that it was a celebration of women and women's role. And even if you don't have even if you're completely on board with that, and I am, who doesn't want full opportunity and full equality and all that? But the tone of it could feel inadvertently a little bit anti-male, or at least I would say it diminishes the importance of men. Now, I don't think any of that is intentional. I think that's just the vibe that it's easy to pick up from watching the Democratic convention. And I think the vibe, just the feeling you get from it is going to be the important thing in terms of a bump in the poll numbers. And I think that for every Clinton supporter who was already a supporter, probably they became more of supporters. They may have been more excited. It might even help them a little bit in getting the vote out. But I think anybody who was on the fence or a little bit leaning against Clinton probably felt a little bit, at least the men, felt a little bit diminished by it. And that would lower their testosterone. It would give them a negative feeling that they would associate with the candidate, whether they did that consciously or not. So on the subconscious level, on the persuasion level, I believe the Democratic convention will cause an almost unheard of negative bump in Clinton's poll numbers. Now, poll numbers are pretty frothy, especially in the summer, so you could see some up and down. So the very first poll might be up because it's immediately after the convention, but I think you'd see it start to trail down pretty quickly. Yeah, is the seat filler thing real? It is a little patronizing, isn't it? So have you noticed, start looking for this. When you listen to Hillary Clinton talk, you'll hear things like first woman president, support me, vote for me. A lot of the language, just the choice of words, is a lot about what you can do for her. If you listen to Trump, it's odd because his talking is all about what he can do to help you. He doesn't use the language of, as much anyway, of, vote for me, I will be historical, I will be your first businessman president. He says he'll do a good job, but that's what they're supposed to say. But I might be there might be some confirmation bias, but let me know if you see that as well. Just the choice of language. Does it seem like Clinton is a little bit more about her historical role in the world, which is a little bit more about her? Or is it more about what she can do for the country? She started to sound like Trump, you think? My brother and sister are here, so if you see people walking around in the background, that's them. Does Hillary have any health issues? Yeah, at her age, everybody has health issues. There was a mouse loose on the set. You're getting robbed? You mean by other people writing about persuasion, you mean? Or do you mean somebody behind me is robbing me? Marrying voters. I told you I didn't hear the speech. We didn't have a female head of state 40 years ago. Yeah. Trump will keel over from high blood pressure. Does Trump ever look like... He looks like the least bothered person ever. I mean, imagine all the abuse that Trump is taking. Do you think you could do that? I know I can do it because I'm doing it today on Twitter. If you didn't see the Bill Kristol tweet in response to my tweet, you should go to dilbert.com and click on the blog and see it there. It's humor-wise, it's some of the funniest things you'll see lately. Why is Trump orange? I think you're maybe a little out of date if you haven't noticed that Trump has become increasingly less orange over time. So his makeup has been a lot better, and his hair color seems to have gone from orangey to a little more white-gray blonde thing. He's even more impressive in person. Trump is? I heard somebody else say that too. But I think that's true of famous people in general. I saw George W. Bush speak before he was president. He was governor of Texas. I was at some event. I was a speaker, and he was my warm-up act, which is funny. And you could tell just from George W. Bush speaking as a governor to a hotel room full of people, a very unimpressive situation, that he had the charisma to be president. I mean, you could call him as president, a year before he decided he was going to run. He had that thing. So whether you liked him as president or not, he definitely had the charisma. Paul said he believed it was purposeful. I don't know what you mean. Thank you. Anything outrageous from Trump? Yeah, the conventions are over. I've got a feeling the good stuff is coming. I don't know if you will call it outrageous. It might just be true, but I would expect that the good weapons have been in the closet until now. Thank you, Microsoft. Thoughts about the Russian comment? Well, so as Trump has said, his comment about Russia finding Hillary's emails was sarcastic. I don't know how anybody could have taken that any other way, but the New York Times and Wall Street, or the Washington Post, both acted like it was a serious invitation for Russian espionage. Or at the very least, even if he was joking, they said, even if you're joking, that's totally inappropriate. And I'm trying to imagine, Vladimir Putin hearing that quote from Trump that they should turn over Hillary's emails and having him think, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? Oh, we can do espionage. We can look into people's servers over here from Russia. Is there some kind of technology that lets us do that now? Holy cow. It's a good thing I heard it from Donald Trump. I never would have known that we can hack their servers and find out all their vital information and use it to blackmail them later. That's a totally new idea, Donald Trump. Thank you for suggesting that. I mean, and the Washington Post and the New York Times reports it like it's some kind of serious news. Now, keep in mind that the Washington Post is anti-Trump, and they're not trying to hide it. And the New York Times is 17% owned by a Mexican billionaire who probably is no fan of Donald Trump. Here I say that because he lives in Mexico, not because of his ethnicity. See what I did there? Dickhead-looking motherfucker. I do have a dickhead, especially since I got my new haircut. It's very dick-shaped. Do you think the contrast? Maybe. Yeah. No, probably not. I think people see Clinton and Obama as the same person. So I think if they like Obama, some of that will rub off on her. Don't lie, Scott, you're just bald. Yes, I am bald. Do I believe in HBD? What the hell is that? You had hair in your Twitter pic. Yeah, that wasn't much hair. Hillary sounded villainous. I thought she looked it. I listened to her speech with the sound off, and she had that demonic look most of the time. You really have to ask me if the mainstream media wants Hillary Clinton to be president? Is that serious? If Cialdini is so powerful, why isn't he more famous? Why would everybody want to be famous? Wouldn't you rather be rich and powerful? The pantsuit, well, fashion is not going to be the important thing, I think. Peter Thiel's support, what impact? I don't think it has a huge impact. Actually, the Hillary lowering testosterone statement is a hypothesis, and it can be tested. And I think this would be an interesting test. And by the way, if I'm wrong, I'll just say I'm wrong. I just need some evidence. But here's the hypothesis. If you took someone who didn't watch either convention, and you take a male, and let's say they're haven't been paying attention to politics at all. Let's say you pick a Canadian who hasn't been following any U.S. politics. They just sort of vaguely know who the candidates are. Have them watch the entire Republican convention, and then take another group of people, with some kind of scientific sampling, and have them watch the other convention, and then measure their testosterone levels before and after. So the hypothesis is that people watching the Democratic convention, the males, would have lower testosterone after watching than would someone who watched the Republican convention, just measuring their levels before and after. Now that could be tested, right? We have recordings of the events, and if you wanted to be a little more direct, you could, for example, just pick certain parts, like Lena Dunham's portion, comparing it to some other portion of the Republican Party, and see if there's any difference. Right? And if you found a difference in just those short segments, then you would next test for the entire convention to see if that was a fluke. But it's all testable, right? We know how to test testosterone. We know how to create scientifically valid samples of people to test. And we have the two things to test. So let's find out. Kane looked low T. I can totally see what's happening. Press secretary, the press would never show up. Bernie switching to independent? What, did that happen? Kane is fabulous. What? All right, I'm probably going to have to get back to business here. Why are people obsessed with testosterone? Well, testosterone is one of your key influences. Have you noticed that when people want to criticize an idea that actually makes sense, such as the idea that your testosterone affects your mood and your decisions, well-known, understood science, the objections always go to things like, why do you think this is always true in every case? Well, I'm going to quit that line of talking because it bored me halfway through it. Another red-blooded American male here voting Democrat. Yeah, any statements I make about, the convention lowering testosterone obviously doesn't mean for every person. So I'm only talking about large groups of people and how the average changes. I want to be the most credible person in the world because the world needs the most credible person, and I think it would be useful. Yeah, if your T levels are very different, you are a different person. Is Bill Maher biased? Everybody's biased. I'm going to stand with my negative bump prediction. Your library, that's still upstairs. I'm not going to show you that. I know, I understand why you're asking, but one of these days I'll do it, but I have to be upstairs. If I died, who would be the most credible? There's a good question. The most credible person in the world who's not me. So somebody who's not biased. Bill Gates. I'm going to say Bill Gates is the most credible person in the world who is not me. And I say that because I think he's so committed to data-driven decisions that that I just don't think he is as biased as the average person. And by the way, I assume Bill Gates backs Hillary Clinton, but on any given topic, an economic topic, trade agreements, healthcare, I would imagine he would look at the data. You like Bill Gates too much? Well, it's not like I know him personally, but I mean, in terms of what he presents publicly, he's the ultimate successful person who had the right intentions. So it's hard not to like that. All right, this Periscope was very big. Talib, yes, I'm going to go with Nassim. Perhaps more objective even than Gates. I put them in the same category. That was a good one. I should have thought of that. I'll say that next time somebody asks. I'm just drinking Starbucks from my own coffee maker. When he said he wanted to hit the speakers, that's one of those comments like saying somebody has a punchable face. Fuck you, bald faggot. You can always tell who's a Democrat. The Democrats have gone full just insult. They've just completely, at least on Twitter, they've just completely given up on any sense of reason. Do you remember when the Democrats were, we've got policy details and we've got specific ideas and we've got experience? If you go over on Twitter, today all the Democrats are just going full Trump insults. All right, I'm going to sign off. Thanks for watching. I'll be back another time.